We live in a world that celebrates sharing, our thoughts, our photos, even our emotions. But here's the truth. Not everything is meant to be shared. Some things are meant to stay private, not because you're hiding something, but because privacy protects your peace, your energy, and your power. There's a fine line between openness and oversharing, and the difference often determines whether people respect you or take advantage of you. So today, let's talk about the 5 things you should never share with anyone. Not your friends, not your coworkers, not even your family. These are boundaries that keep you grounded, confident, and in control. Your long-term goals are not just dreams written on paper. They are the blueprint of your future self, the silent architecture of your growth. When you start speaking about your ambitions too early, you invite energies that can shift your focus away from the work that truly matters. The moment your vision leaves your lips, it becomes vulnerable to doubt, criticism, and misunderstanding. People may not see what you see because your goal was planted in your heart, not theirs. And when others can't understand your vision, they unconsciously discourage you or minimize it, not out of malice, but from the limits of their own perspective. Protecting your goals isn't secrecy, it's strategy. It's giving your dreams the privacy they need to grow roots before they face the wind of public opinion. There's a psychology behind why you should keep your goals private. Studies show that when people announce their ambitions, they often experience a false sense of accomplishment, like the satisfaction of sharing replaces the satisfaction of achieving. Talking about your plans gives your brain a small reward, making you less likely to follow through with action. Silence, on the other hand, builds pressure, a productive kind of pressure that fuels consistency. When you don't seek validation, your motivation comes from within, not from applause. It's this quiet drive that separates those who start strong from those who actually finish. Every time you feel the urge to announce what's next, remind yourself that your discipline is your declaration. Another danger of sharing your long-term goals too early is that it exposes your vulnerabilities. When you tell people what you're working toward, you open the door to scrutiny. And not everyone who listens wants you to win. Some will question your abilities, others will compare your timeline to theirs, and a few might even sabotage your efforts, subtly planting doubts in your mind. The truth is, not every environment supports growth, and not every listener is rooting for your success. By keeping your goals private, you give yourself space to make mistakes, to pivot, and to improve without external noise. It's easier to evolve when no one's watching your every move. Think about how a seed grows underground before it breaks through the soil. No one applauds its struggle, no one witnesses its progress, yet it pushes through quietly and consistently. Your long-term goals deserve the same kind of protection. The quiet phase is where strength is built, where character is shaped, and where resilience forms. People love to celebrate the bloom, but they rarely understand the struggle beneath it. The more you protect your process, the more powerful your results become when they finally appear. Growth is not about being seen, it's about being prepared when it's time to be seen. You might feel tempted to share because it feels like accountability. Telling others makes you feel responsible for the outcome. But real accountability doesn't come from public pressure, it comes from personal integrity. You don't need to prove your ambition by speaking it. You prove it by waking up every day and doing the work that no one sees. When you learn to enjoy the process without the need for recognition, your growth becomes unstoppable. Silence becomes your ally, and patience your partner. The longer you protect your vision, the stronger it becomes when you finally decide to reveal it. Your long-term goals are sacred. They are the purest form of your potential. They represent the person you want to become and the life you're building brick by brick. When you share them with too many people, you allow external energies to shape your internal direction. Some will project their fears, others their envy, and even those with good intentions might unknowingly burden you with their expectations. Guarding your goals allows you to walk your path without carrying anyone else's opinions. It gives you the clarity to decide for yourself, to trust your instincts, and to move at your own pace without distraction. The world doesn't need to hear about your goals. It needs to witness the transformation that comes from them. Let your silence become your strength and your consistency your language. The people who truly matter will see the results when they're meant to, not when you're pressured to share. Every milestone deserves its own moment, and every victory feels sweeter when it surprises others. Your goals aren't meant for discussion, they're meant for execution. Stay quiet, stay focused, and let your actions speak the truth. Your words never have to explain. Money is one of the most sensitive and misunderstood topics in human relationships. The moment you start revealing how much you earn, what you spend, or what you own, you unintentionally shift the way people see you. Some begin to compare, some begin to judge, and others begin to calculate where they stand next to you. What was once a neutral friendship or family bond can quietly turn into a scoreboard. Sharing financial details creates unnecessary tension because money, in most minds, isn't just numbers. It's tied to ego, security, and status. The less people know about your finances, the more control you maintain over how you're treated. Privacy isn't about being secretive. It's about protecting peace from silent competition and unspoken resentment. Money has a strange way of exposing people's true colors. When you talk about having more, some people might act proud of you, but secretly feel envy creeping in. If you talk about having less, they might start viewing you with pity or superiority. Either way, their perception shifts, and that shift can change how they interact with you. Financial privacy keeps relationships authentic, uncolored by judgment or comparison. It allows you to be valued for your character, not your net worth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for what's in your wallet, your bank account, or your investment portfolio. Protecting your financial boundaries is a sign of emotional intelligence, a quiet confidence that doesn't seek validation through wealth. There's also the danger of manipulation when you share your financial details too openly. People who know your situation may use it to their advantage, to borrow, to guilt, or to control. They may measure your generosity against your income or assume your responsibilities based on what they think you can afford. It becomes a trap of expectation that drains both your wallet and your peace of mind. Keeping your finances private creates a necessary boundary that prevents exploitation. It gives you the freedom to make financial decisions on your own terms without feeling pressured by outside opinions or emotional obligations. The less they know, the less they can use against you. Money conversations can also distort how you see yourself. When you constantly talk about what you make or what you own, your sense of identity can start to revolve around those numbers. You begin comparing your journey to others, questioning your progress or your success. This comparison doesn't motivate, it consumes. It breeds insecurity when you have less and arrogance when you have more. Financial privacy helps you separate your worth from your wealth. It allows you to measure progress not by possessions, but by peace, growth, and freedom. The true measure of wealth is how quietly you can live well without needing to prove it. In today's world of social media, people broadcast their lifestyles more than ever. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, expensive cars, all become public displays of financial status. But what most forget is that money flaunted often invites scrutiny, jealousy, or even danger. The more you show, the more others assume, and assumptions rarely work in your favor. Real wealth doesn't need an audience. The richest people are often the quietest because they understand that money loses value when it becomes a tool for attention. Keeping your finances discreet doesn't make you mysterious, it makes you wise. Even within families, money can become a silent divider. Siblings, relatives, or even close friends can start comparing lifestyles or assuming favoritism based on financial standing. It changes how love and respect are expressed, turning emotional bonds into transactional calculations. When you maintain privacy around your finances, you preserve equality in your relationships. You stop money from becoming the measure of affection or worth. You keep generosity pure, gratitude genuine, and respect mutual. It's not about withholding information, it's about preventing money from becoming the center of your connection. Ultimately, your financial details belong to you alone. They represent your journey, your sacrifices, your mistakes, and your lessons, things too personal for public display. The world doesn't need to know how you're earning, spending, or saving. What matters is that you're building stability in silence, making choices that align with your goals, not someone else's expectations. Money should serve you, not define you, and privacy ensures it stays that way. The less attention you draw to it, the more power you have over it. Protecting your financial life is protecting your peace, your dignity, and your freedom. When emotions run high and frustration takes over, it feels natural to vent, to tell a friend or family member what went wrong, who hurt you, or how upset you feel. But the truth is, every time you share your relationship problems with others, you open a door that's hard to close. The moment someone else hears your side of the story, they form opinions that can linger long after your emotions have settled. You might forgive your partner, but the listener won't forget what they heard. What began as a moment of relief for you can quietly plant seeds of judgment in their mind. Over time, those seeds grow into tension, mistrust, or bias that damages the very bond you were trying to protect. A relationship is like a private ecosystem, fragile, complex, and built on trust. When outsiders enter that space, even with good intentions, they disrupt the balance. Friends might take your side because they care, but their advice often comes from emotion, not understanding. They don't know the full story, the context, or the quiet moments of love that exist beyond the argument. What feels like helpful guidance can turn into subtle pressure, pushing you toward decisions that aren't truly yours. Every relationship has challenges, but not every challenge needs a committee. The more you involve others, the less control you have over your own connection. Venting might give temporary relief, but it often prolongs emotional pain. When you speak about your partner in anger, you relive the frustration instead of releasing it. You anchor the problem deeper into your memory, making healing harder. Private communication, on the other hand, promotes resolution. When you express your feelings directly to the person involved, you create understanding instead of misunderstanding. You allow clarity to replace confusion and compassion to replace blame. True intimacy isn't built through public conversations. It's built in the quiet honesty between two people willing to listen and grow together. The danger of oversharing relationship issues isn't just about gossip. It's about perception. Once others see your partner through the lens of your frustration, they start treating them differently. They may act distant, disrespectful, or overly protective of you. It changes group dynamics, family gatherings, and friendships in ways that can't easily be undone. You might reconcile, but those relationships around you rarely return to neutral. The damage isn't visible, but it's lasting. Protecting your relationship means protecting its image, not for appearance's sake, but for its integrity. What happens between two people should stay between two people. There's also the issue of privacy as a form of respect. When you share your partner's flaws, mistakes, or personal details, you violate a trust that's fundamental to love. Everyone has moments of weakness, and those moments aren't meant to be publicized. The strength of a relationship lies in its ability to keep sacred what others might exploit. The more you preserve each other's dignity in private, the stronger your bond becomes in public. Respect isn't only about words spoken in front of someone. It's also about the silence you maintain when they're not around. Some people justify oversharing by calling it advice seeking, but advice loses value when it replaces communication. Asking for perspective is one thing. Making others the audience to your relationship is another. Growth comes from reflection, not from broadcasting. If you truly need guidance, choose someone neutral, objective, and trustworthy. Someone who respects both sides, not just yours. But even then, share the issue, not the intimate details. Protect the parts of your relationship that define its depth and privacy. Your problems should lead to progress, not performance. In the end, every relationship will face storms. That's inevitable. What defines its strength is how you handle those storms behind closed doors. The more private you keep your struggles, the safer your connection becomes from outside influence. When love is guarded, it grows stronger. When it's exposed, it becomes vulnerable to misunderstanding. The calmest relationships are the ones where both people know that no matter what happens, their story won't be told elsewhere. Privacy in love isn't secrecy, it's loyalty in its purest form. Every decision you make about your future carries weight, but not every decision should be shared with others. Whether it's a career change, a personal project, or a life goal, revealing your next move too soon can shift the dynamics around you in ways you can't control. People may respond with doubt, skepticism, or even envy, and those reactions can subtly affect your confidence. When you share your plans before they're ready, you give others the power to influence your choices, often without them even realizing it. The safest way to protect your vision is to move quietly, letting actions, not words, announce your progress. There's a strategic advantage in secrecy. History is filled with examples of people whose breakthroughs were nearly derailed by premature disclosure. Sharing plans invites expectation and pressure, and while some encouragement is positive, too much external input can derail your focus. Every suggestion, every opinion, and every question diverts energy from execution. The less you reveal, the more freedom you have to pivot, adjust, and perfect your strategy. People only see what you show them, so control the narrative by staying silent until your results are undeniable. Prematurely sharing your next move also exposes you to competition. The moment someone else learns your idea or intention, they may try to replicate it, beat you to it, or subtly sabotage it. Not everyone who listens is rooting for your success. Some will admire it, others will fear it. By keeping your plans private, you reduce the risk of being imitated or challenged before you're prepared. Quiet action becomes a shield, allowing you to work on your terms without interference. In many ways, discretion in planning is as important as talent or effort. Moreover, announcing your next move can distort your relationships. Friends, family, or colleagues may unintentionally project their fears or desires onto your plans. Advice, even when well-meaning, can pressure you to follow paths that aren't yours. People may try to slow you down, compare your timeline to theirs, or express doubt that undermines your momentum. When your actions are public, every decision becomes a performance. When your actions are private, every step becomes intentional, driven by your own standards and timeline, not by external expectations. Keeping your next move private also strengthens your discipline. When no one is watching, you are accountable only to yourself. You rely on focus, consistency, and perseverance rather than external validation. This internal accountability builds resilience and independence, qualities that are essential for long-term success. Publicly sharing your plans can create a false sense of progress because sometimes the act of announcing is mistaken for action. Quiet preparation, on the other hand, ensures that every step is real, measurable, and effective. There's a psychological power in surprise. When people discover your success only after it's achieved, it creates respect and admiration that is impossible to manufacture through words. Results speak louder than promises, and a well-timed reveal can inspire confidence in others while cementing your credibility. By holding back your intentions until they materialize, you also avoid the distraction of defending your vision, answering questions, or justifying choices before they've proven themselves. The fewer people involved in your journey, the more control you have over the outcome. Ultimately, your next move is sacred territory. It's the path you're carving toward your vision, and it deserves protection from unnecessary noise. Sharing too early doesn't make you accountable. It makes you vulnerable. Every step you take in private strengthens your confidence, sharpens your strategy, and preserves your momentum. The best plans flourish in silence, nurtured by dedication rather than exposure. Keeping your next move hidden isn't about secrecy for the sake of secrecy. It's about safeguarding your potential, maintaining control, and letting your results define your story. There's a quiet power in doing good without announcing it. Acts of kindness, generosity, and support are most impactful when they are unseen, unrecognized, and unbroadcasted. When you publicize your good deeds, you risk shifting the focus from the act itself to the attention it brings. The moment recognition becomes the goal, the purity of the gesture begins to fade. True generosity doesn't need applause, it needs intention. It's the satisfaction of knowing that someone's life was touched, even if no one else ever knows. Silent acts build character, shape integrity, and create influence without the burden of ego. People often confuse generosity with publicity, believing that announcing good deeds enhances their reputation. But this is a fragile kind of respect. When you share your kindness, others begin to evaluate you not by the depth of your heart, but by the scale of your display. They judge, compare, and sometimes dismiss your actions based on perception rather than reality. Quiet generosity avoids this trap. It allows your actions to resonate authentically without being filtered through the lens of opinion. The impact of a deed is not measured by who knows it, but by the lasting effect it has on those who receive it. Another reason to keep good deeds private is to preserve humility. Humility is the quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. When you perform acts of kindness without expectation of recognition, you cultivate inner strength. Your self-worth becomes independent of approval, and your motivations remain pure. Publicizing your generosity, even with the best intentions, can subtly shift the focus to yourself rather than the people you aim to help. The moment your identity becomes tied to your generosity, you risk turning altruism into performance. True influence grows quietly without the spotlight. There's also a relational advantage to discretion. When good deeds are private, the recipient feels genuine care rather than obligation or exposure. They can accept help without feeling indebted to a wider audience or worried about perception. This preserves dignity, trust, and connection. People rarely forget kindness that comes quietly. The emotional resonance of an unseen act lasts longer because it isn't tainted by social expectation or comparison. Privacy in giving ensures that the energy of generosity remains intact and uncorrupted. Keeping your deeds silent also reinforces consistency. When recognition isn't the goal, acts of kindness are driven by principle, not circumstance. You cultivate a mindset where generosity becomes a natural habit, not a performance for an audience. Your actions are consistent because they are aligned with values, not social approval. The quiet practice of doing good strengthens character and creates internal rewards that external praise cannot match. Over time, the habit of silent generosity transforms not only the lives of others, but your own identity and sense of purpose. Publicizing good deeds can also attract unintended consequences. People may expect repeated acts, judge the scale of your contributions, or even exploit your generosity. When kindness is public, it can become transactional, something measured and evaluated rather than freely given. Keeping good deeds private avoids these pitfalls. It protects both you and the recipient, allowing the gesture to remain genuine, impactful, and unpressured. Your influence grows not because of attention, but because of authentic results. Finally, silent generosity creates a subtle ripple effect. Others are inspired not by the announcement of your actions, but by the example they set. When good deeds are performed consistently and quietly, they cultivate a culture of integrity, compassion, and responsibility. People notice the effects without needing explanation. The quiet impact of your actions often outlasts loud gestures because it touches hearts rather than egos. True legacy is built in this space where influence flows naturally, freely, and without fanfare,